And we're live for the first live stream this week. Took a couple of nights off to, just have some home time, watching TV, in fact. It's slightly late tonight, and for once, it's not strictly speaking my fault. But you argue it partly is because I am in the kitchen, and people need to do kitchen things in the kitchen. And so we're just having some kitchen things finish up before going live. But that's all cleared out of the way now. And in fact, ready to rock and roll. Hello, Abigail. How are you this evening? It's really funny, the information on who's here and whatnot. There can be quite a lag for me seeing who's here, and certainly a gap between when people post comments and when I see them. So it's a bit of an experience for both streamer and audience in time dilation. So, kind of feel like my camera's doing funny things, unless it's my eyes doing funny things, which is a distinct possibility. We just need to accept that here and now, that the camera, the computer, the internet might all be fine, and it might be my eyes that are a bit funny. Oh, yes, so I greet you from Plague Town, Melbourne. Still locked down. We don't have a curfew anymore. Still can't go more than 5 kilometers from home unless you've got a work permit, which it's kind of like I find the people who go on about, it's authoritarian and repressive, I find them to be fucking morons. But when you say it out loud, it does sound that way. Justin, you voted in the ACT election. Only jurisdiction in Australia to have electronic voting. Speaking as someone who worked, I'm not sure exactly what the setting is in the ACT, but speaking as someone who works in IT and has for a while, electronic voting is a fucking nightmare. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's so horrifically easy to be rorted. Any voting system can be rorted and has been rorted in the past, but electronic voting is just fucked. Abigail, you notice the stream cuts in after I've started speaking, cuts out before I finished speaking. I could do an intro and outro to stop this. This is an actual true thing. That would also rely on me not being lazy. So there are, and in fact, StreamYard has elements to make that easy. I also think that maybe is just on the live stream, because I think on the recorded version that's on YouTube, that doesn't happen so much, but I'm not sure. Justin, yes, it is a valid point. I don't think there's an enormous incentive to rig the ACT election. As the US moves closer to doing more and more electronic voting, I just shudder. You cannot trust it ever. Abigail, have I ever tried being not lazy? Oh, it's not so much. I can make an intro and an outro in 5 seconds. I was just editing video before coming on. It's just setting it up, and I'm like, what do I have to do? There's a fucking thing. It's the thing. I have to look at the instructions. But like, what's this? This is a preset one with a countdown for going in. I also think I just cut off the countdown. I think that was going faster than 1 second. Like it's counting down from 30, and I think it was probably only going to take about 25 seconds. But being pedantic. Music David, reasons to have electronic voting. It's quicker. Reasons not to have electronic voting. No. The simple reason is you will never be able to trust electronic voting no matter what. You can never trust it. There is no trustworthy audit trail. Paper-based voting is fraught and can be subverted and has been subverted, sometimes in really critical cases, but the audit trail for paper-based voting is more trustworthy than the audit trail for electronic voting. Electronic voting is just inherently untrustworthy. And I mean, even in the US, one of the biggest makers of electronic voting machines is an extremely ardent Republican. But this would go either way. It is very likely that the manufacturer of any voting machine is going to have political persuasions. And that's not to say they're inherently dishonest, but it brings in an element of doubt. And this guy, who's the head of one of the vote machine makers in the US, was such an extreme, full-on partisan Republican, bloody reeked of untrustworthiness. But there are very few people in technology who will say good things about voting machines. If you cut out the people who work for the companies who make the hardware or software for the voting machines, if you rule out the people who are involved in partisan political groups, you'll get virtually no one who says electronic voting is a good idea. It's innately terrible. And the machines in America have been shown to be completely insecure. It's just bad. It is just bad. The short version of why electronic voting shouldn't happen is it's bad. It's very bad. But it comes down to auditability. There are too many elements that mean someone could change votes in the system and have it be almost undetectable. Now, again, with paper-based ballots, people have changed votes, have stolen votes, have replaced votes. All these things have happened in voting systems with paper-based ballots. But it is actually more difficult, like considerably more difficult to do without being caught. It's that simple. Paper-based voting just has a considerably more trustworthy audit trail. So, but you know, you get these fucking grifters who just go, "Oh no, this is the way to go." And honestly, you look at US politics is so broken. It is so very, very, very broken. And the Republicans are shamelessly evil. The Democrats are just pathetic. They don't stand a chance against the brutality of the Republican Party machine. And the Republicans do everything in their power to subvert voting to go in their favor. They're not very fair-minded. So Abigail, yes, you're also an IT worker. Electronic voting is the worst. Well, yeah, powerful people tend to like electronic voting because it's just so easy to tamper with. The voting machines have proven to be physically insecure, in that it was easy for people to break into them and so, yeah, essentially change the drives and whatnot. They've proven to be easy to crack with software, so you can change the votes that are in there. And it's not impossible to trace tampering, but on the scale of things, it's like with electronic voting machines, it's like easy to tamper with, very difficult to detect tampering. With paper-based voting, is like difficult to tamper and easier to detect tampering. Again, like I said, I really want to stress, paper-based voting is not foolproof. Any voting system involves people, and basically people are inherently untrustworthy. Hashtag not all people, but a significant chunk of humanity are utterly untrustworthy, and different people will be untrustworthy at different times. I freely admit I can think of situations both big and small where I believed the way the real votes actually went was an horrifically bad outcome. And if it was in my power, I absolutely would have faked the votes. I absolutely would have subverted the will of the people, because I think the people made a dumb fucking choice, an ill-informed choice, or a destructive choice. But thankfully, there's checks and balances in place that make it difficult for people like me to actually subvert the will of the people. So, yeah, and it's probably the person who wants to really, really convince you that people are trustworthy, the system is trustworthy. Those are the ones you want to watch. The ones who don't want you to be cynical about the process, they're really, really dangerous. Yes, and I agree, Abigail. The people, the worst. Yeah, Alexander, Brexit. That was a classic example to me of conservatives being absolutely ruthless in pursuit of an agenda, to the extent of just non-stop lying, just absolute lies. Like every position they took, every statement they made in support of Brexit was a fucking lie, and they were never held to account. And it was a great example of the left side being fucking useless. I mean, half the time they were in those talk shows where the Tories were saying the most ridiculous shit. The only sensible thing to do would be to get up and punch them in the fucking face, honestly. It was ridiculous. Justice saying political party members can't work for the Electoral Commission. Yes, but everyone in the Electoral Commission has a political viewpoint. For instance, I think our electoral system in Australia is quite robust. On the global scale, one of the most trustworthy, like definitely at the top end of trustworthy. I would be very loath to cast aspersions on electoral workers in Australia. I would be very loath to cast aspersions on poll workers in America. I cast aspersions on the people who are making the voting machines. Have proven themselves to be very partisan and very untrustworthy. I cast aspersion on the politicians. but not on the actual electoral workers. Abigail, what are you saying? Members of any political party can be scrutineers. That's true. And that's, again, with paper ballots, you have scrutineers who watch what's being recorded on the ballots. And it's just so easy to subvert that with electronic machines. So easy. It's just terrifying how easy it is. Catherine, do I think the American problem is they have 10 times the people we have, harder to run an election? That doesn't help, honestly. The United States is probably too big. Oh, no, it's my sister. I was about to say, it's easy. I emailed you, you idiot. Yes, Safa, Lushenko. That's another one. Yes, true, Safa. A lot of the Eastern Bloc, former Soviet states, including Russia, the trustworthiness of their voting system is way at the bottom. But yeah, there's differences around the world. I think Australia's is quite trustworthy. America's less so. Yeah, the Eastern European way less so, and basically anywhere that's got someone who's a bit of an iron grip of power, whether they're a literal dictator or not, the electoral processes become very suspect. Justin, what do I think of Trump's taxes? It is not going to change anyone's mind about anything. It's not going to change anything. Trump will suffer no repercussions as a result of the fact we now know the blindingly fucking obvious. It's what everyone's been saying all along. The reason Trump was desperately trying to stop his tax returns from being made popular is because it's going to show two things. He's not paying taxes, and all his talk about being a great businessman is a fucking lie. An absolute fucking lie. This is not new. It's a confirmation, sure, but it isn't new. It's anyone with any insight whatsoever already knew this. There is no revelations. And possible pluses to it. Possible pluses to this going public. It may incense Democrats who are lazy about voting and may motivate some people who were going to vote Democrat but might have been too lazy to go out and vote. They may get so angry it may make them more likely to vote, which would obviously help Biden. Second, it might help Biden fluster Trump in their debate. They're having one soon, the next 12 hours or something, aren't they? Let me just look that up. Trump, Biden debate schedule. NPR Tuesday, September 9 to 10:30 Eastern time. So I've got my world clock here. World clock. East. That's New York, yeah? Yes, East is New York. Hey, my geography is good. 6:21 a.m. So in about 15 hours. About 15 hours. So that's going to happen before my next live stream. So it might help Biden fluster Trump in the debate, which again might sway some people. Who knows? But who would have thought someone like you on Trump's job seeker is richer than Trump? In terms of actual credit and debit, probably yes. But in terms of control of resources, no. Safa, I'll forget about rural versus city with Trump. It's mostly white people. It's the majority of white people. Significant majority of white men and noticeable majority of white women vote for Trump. So, yeah, forget your city-country divide. It's a racial divide. White people vote for Trump. Simple as that. So if US country people less moral than US city people, that's a value judgment. And so the conclusion you draw on a value judgment is always colored by your own biases. The people in rural areas would doubtless say they're more moral than the people in the cities or in their decadent lifestyles. But it's a value judgment. It's not an objective truth. And he's found the link.
Shalom! Hello! Salam alaikum! Motherfucker! And many times your indigenous greetings on your dead one. Fuck you.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. We were just talking voting, relative value thereof. Bit of a laugh about Trump's tax returns. Did you see any stories about that?
No.
Finally, one of the court cases where people are saying, we want to see his tax returns, they got it. And the New York Times ran a thing that revealed the great unsurprising truths. He doesn't pay tax and he doesn't have the money he says he has. In fact, he apparently has $400 million of personal debt he's accountable for.
And that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's nothing new. Like you got people going, oh, this is it. It is not going to sway. I feel like it's not going to sway a single Trump supporter against him.
No.
They don't fucking care.
That's just a natural part of making wealth. You know, debt is just something that has to happen in order to grow capital so that you can get yourself a nest egg from which to grow on. And then you get wetbacks and niggers and homos to pay off all your debt on usurious rates covered by the Bible, because remember, you were allowed to abuse and have dominion over anything that's not your same species. So you're talking your negri, you're talking your wetback, your Canadian, anything that's not of your own species, you're allowed to have dominion over. And you can whip a guy to work for you or to pay rent, or a woman. I don't think there's any mention of women in the Bible, is there?
Yeah.
Except for property.
I think you're basically right.
I think Trump supporters will be fine with him being $400 million in the hole.
Yeah.
$400 million in the hole. Geez, it'd be funny if they all foreclosed at once, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I was just looking up things because Bobo said, can I come up with Trump and Biden themed cocktails for tomorrow night? Biden's difficult because he's a teetotaler. In fact, Trump claims to be a teetotaler, which we have fairly abundant evidence is a lie. But they both claim to be teetotalers. I think Biden's telling the truth. I don't think Trump drinks much, but he does drink alcohol. And he does do fat rails of cocaine off underage girls at Epstein parties. So, yeah. What's with AZ's hand? I don't know. What's with AZ's hand? I don't think there's anything with AZ's hand.
This one?
There's nothing with your hand. What's with your hand?
That one.
Oh, there's an injury on it. Is that it?
That one. I picked it up today, clearly on my way back from the chemist. I must have bumped into something and opened it up, stabbed it with something. And by the time I got home, I looked at it and went, oh, that's
blood.
deep. But it's actually scabbed over. So I'm going to leave it the fuck well alone.
Yeah.
If it infects, I'll reopen it and
Best.
scrape it. If
Ooh.
it doesn't infect, I'm just gonna walk away.
Yeah.
So that's
Good
what's in
evening,
my
Stella.
hand.
Sorry, I was just a good evening, Stella. And Abigail said, Aisy's hand, the only part of him that isn't about to fall off. Oh, don't speak too soon. Anything could happen.
Don't say shit like that out loud.
No. You're tempting the fates.
That's right.
The
And
dark
they're
god.
all shitty with me.
Yeah. The dark gods are going, yes, good point. We haven't given him leprosy yet. Let's give him leprosy.
Do you know how you catch leprosy? Do you know how you actually catch leprosy? You've got to drink the water that a leper has urinated in.
There's more than one sort of leprosy. I know that.
Oh, well, fuck my story up then. Thanks, Angry. I fucking try and put in a beauty. I try and say, Australia, you're not safe from leprosy because you love your fucking water sports with your lepers. But no, you have to say, lots of leprosy, dickhead. You fucking not right on anything. Go fuck yourself. Well, I'm going to sing a song now. Everyone considered him the coward of the county.
It's a good song. He was a pussy. Hi, Charlie and Toby, by the way.
Hi, everyone. So there's lots of different types of leprosy. I mean, there's lots of different types of hepatitis, and they're spread differently.
Yes.
So what's going on with leprosy?
Well, if I do a quick consult to the internet, which, also known as Hansen's disease, long-term infection by bacteria that can damage the nerves, respiratory tract, skin, and eyes. Can mean you can't feel pain, which can lead to loss of parts of your extremities from repeated injuries, infection due to unnoticed wounds.
That's why bits fall off you, because you actually hurt yourself and you continue to hurt yourself in the same way. And they either infect and fall off, or you just damage it so much that it's no longer functional and you didn't feel it happen. That's why they don't want to give chronic pain patients lots and lots of medication, because
you'll hurt yourself.
Do themselves injuries that they don't notice.
Yeah.
Yes. And give themselves leprosy. Injuries that they don't even notice.
You like that?
Saying,
yeah.
That's what they're worried about.
Wikipedia does say it's spread through contact, but is actually reasonably difficult to get. Like, you have to have extended contact with a leper. But yes, if a leper fell into your water supply, that wouldn't be good. And it is a fluid thing. So if they pissed in your water supply or even spat in your glass of water or something, that wouldn't be good.
It's interestingly enough, young Papillon, when he was trying to fucking get away from
that's what I remember too, yes.
And the leper said, if you suck on my cigar, I'll give you what you want. And he takes it straight off him and Havana.
Yeah.
And then the leper finally goes, well, feel free to give it back. And he goes, and then hands it back and he says, you'll get what you need. And fucking all the other guys are going, Jesus, Papillon, don't do it, man. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Have you seen his lips? They've got bubbles on them. And he's just like, yeah, I'm cool with it. And in the book, it actually says, I'd heard somewhere that you had to be with the lepers for a long time to get it, and that you couldn't get it just casually. And I was pretty sure to make sure that the dry part of my mouth was on the dry part of the cigar. There's no licking it. I was just sucking it down.
In the movie, the leper says something along the lines of, how did you know I had dry leprosy? To which Papillon says, I didn't. It's just getting out of here is more important than avoiding leprosy.
Exactly.
Well, I think to take the risk.
This whole thing at the time, and he also says in the book as well, he says at the time, my choices were what? Stay here and die at Devil's Island, die of leprosy on Devil's Island, or leave.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah.
You know?
I always like the idea. This is Steve McQueen in the movie Papillon with his little catchphrase, "I'm still here, you bastards." I thought that was quite a good line. They're throwing him in cells and pits and whatnot. Yeah, sorry, poor musical aviator working for NBN Co. He has no idea what all the big changes the government announced means. It's great when Polly's announced new policy to the media and it takes a week or more for the people who work there to get told what it actually means, how it's going to affect their jobs and whatnot. Yeah.
So, as I understand it, everyone's getting NBN to their place.
Not everyone, but several million households will get the fiber to their house.
Right.
So for a lot of people, that means, sorry, I got hiccup slightly. A lot of people, that means much faster internet.
So what we voted for in the beginning.
A 10-year-old Labor policy, essentially. They've wasted billions of dollars unnecessarily downgrading Labor's plan, and now they're going to implement it anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just taking on a plan they rejected 10 years ago, and they're fucking idiots.
So I'm wondering if they've been continually told by the Chamber of Commerce and anyone in economics that if you let this country slip behind any further on the internet, we are going to be third world before you can snap your asshole.
Only one they've listened to for the last 7 years has been Rupert Murdoch, who said, it's bad, don't do it. And because they're cowardly little shits, they did what Murdoch told them to. And it's as simple as that. And we have been getting worse in the world rankings every year because there's been no improvement, only degradation, and the rest of the world is going forwards. And so when you're not going forwards, that's the same as going backwards.
That's exactly the same as going backwards. Yeah. And this whole fucking... I am not surprised that this all turned up in coronavirus time when the world all of a sudden realized that, hey, this working from home thing is actually really efficient. And that we don't have to have them coming in every day. Yeah. And that a lot of our costs fuck off out the window if we simply make sure they've got... Because, okay, they're going to take care of the internet. The company's going to have to take care of some, at least all or some of their internet. Yeah. The company's going to have to take care of fucking some stipends for space and furniture, shit like that. Beyond that, think of all the things that they don't have to take care of. All of a sudden, fucking work cover suddenly becomes in a very grey area. Yes, you're at work, but you're not going anywhere. You're in your home.
Yes.
Are you work covered for your home? Yeah. Because I bet your ass you're not. You know, you're not traveling anywhere, so it's not... Because work cover, you know, compo, travel covers you from when you leave your house to go to work, from when you get back to your house to go to work. So if you have a crash on the way to or from, you're covered.
Yes.
You know, if you get mugged, you're covered. If you're at home, that's your domicile, baby. Yeah. And fucking insurances. Who's paying the insurances now?
Yep. These are all big questions. Yep.
And I'm sure these companies are rubbing their hands together going, you know what? Fuck this fucking work from home thing, which we've rubbed our nose at for years, fucking looks like it might be the go. Yeah. And if I had any brains at all, I would be writing the perfect piece of group collaboration face-to-face software. Yeah. I mean, Zoom's done pretty good, but it's still got problems. I'd be doing a piece of software.
We're banned from using it. It's Zoom is completely insecure. We're banned from using it. Any corporate who uses Zoom are fucking idiots, essentially, because
There you
it's
go,
absolutely compromised.
So basically, all you do is you roll out a fucking piece of software that's even subscription based on fuck all, right? That's basically I don't know, $5-10 a user, on a month or even bi-monthly basis, comes straight out of their dues, and you're rolling it in. It's got to be good. It's got to be shit hot. You've got to press the button, and then you've got to press all the people you want in. Or you've got to respond. It's got to basically put the light up on your computer saying you're getting a call to go into this meeting. Hit the button, and if you're already in a meeting and you get a call to go into a meeting, you hit the button and go, I'm already in a meeting. I can talk to you quickly now, but I can talk to you at 4. It's got to have those features in it. And you make a fortune.
And be
you make a fortune.
Very wary of what any tech bro comes up with, because they're a lot of someone who works in technology, people who think purely about it from a technology point of view, they come up with really shit ass ideas. Like
they do.
They'll come up with this surveillance shit. They'll build surveillance shit into your thing. Got to track keystrokes and movement on, and they're already trying to do that for school. And it's just like, fuck off. Sorry, I got to say hello. Who came in? Chris and Lee and Nobody came in a little while ago as well. But yes. Oh, and actually, Abigail rightly points out some employers are requiring people meet minimum OH&S requirements working from home. I had to fill in a thing, and I definitely 100% answered accurately and truthfully about how OH&S safe my home workspace was. But this thing, and an interesting thing I've seen in articles, as so many people have been working from home, usually at the executive level, the top people have decided this is pretty good, and they're already eyeing things off like, we can reduce our office space by 50%, and that will just save us a shit ton of money. Workers, not all, but a significant majority of workers have said, I like working from home. I think it's great. I actually feel more productive at home. The ones who aren't are like middle managers and direct managers, because they can't micromanage people. They think it's bad. They're the only group that the majority of them think it's bad, which is hilarious.
The unnecessary little Hitlers who wander around doing fuck all, and they do fuck all, basically yelling at people, and they will be shown to be utterly unnecessary. So it's the classic get good or fuck off. The little niche that you and I are thinking about will fucking go gangbusters in this.
So I find it hilarious, all these reports of the only ones who don't like it are the little Hitler middle management types. They're funny. Chris, you like working from home. That's good. Abigail had to draw a map of the lounge room where her workstation is. I had to answer questions. I didn't have to draw a map, though. But yes. Still, you're worried that, no, I don't think the LNP is helping country areas with NBN, although, as you point out, Labor did plan to. Labor took that responsibility quite seriously, and the LNP don't. Yes, living in a town of 1,200 people, they're probably not going to do a lot for you. I don't know. You never know. There's some satellite or 5G stuff might actually work for you. I have no idea. Sarfraz and Chris, are you going to watch? Are you watching
what I think they're going to do?
Sorry, what?
Do you know what I think they're going to do?
What?
Is that Labor actually already bought time on the satellites that they're going to use for the country. They've already actually got that time. So I think the LNP are simply going to go in and go, look what we've done. We've got satellites to cover the country. Our constituents are covered by satellites that have been sitting there for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because that time hasn't been used. It's still there. It's good for 10 years. And that's, 3 cycles of government. You'd be out and enjoying your unlimited travel by the time you had to think about it again.
Yeah. And again, Morrison just repeatedly talks about old things as if they're a new thing that he came up with. He does that all the time.
Yeah.
Like he was talking this shit about cybersecurity in the last couple of months. He made a speech that essentially directly said there's a major cybersecurity attack happening now. And because I'm working in cybersecurity, we're like, what the fuck? What's happening? And they go, no, he meant, generally speaking, cybersecurity is constantly being tested by bad people, which is true, but that's not what he said. He actually directly said there's a major cybersecurity attack happening now. And that was a lie. As a grandstanding lie, and he talked about state-based actors, by which he meant China and da-da-da. But this week he talked about funding and, this funding for cybersecurity. Oh, great. And then I saw someone who actually knows what they're talking about going, 80% of what he's talking about has been announced previously, like months or years previously. He just keeps re-announcing it and saying it's a new thing every time. And it's just like, fucking hell. He's such a piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. I mean, and there were beautiful fucking moments where Australia got it right. My favourite moments were during the fires, when he turned up at the firegrounds in a fucking suit. A suit.
Yeah.
Right. And tried to congratulate firemen. And the firemen were fucking giving it to him.
Yeah. I don't want to shake it.
Don't touch me. Don't come near me, you dog.
Yeah.
And fucking, where the fuck have you been? Did you bring me back a daiquiri?
Yeah, from your Hawaii holiday.
Yeah, they were really furious. I've got 3 trucks out there to do the job of 6. I would have had 6 if you'd have simply left the funding alone. You didn't. You cut it. You cut it out. So how about you put it back?
Oh, no, he's a piece of shit.
We'll look at that in the future. And then there's this one great guy, and he said, "How about you put the funding back?" And ScoMo's like red-faced and wanting out of there. He goes, "Oh, we'll look at that seriously in the future." And the fire's gone, "That means nothing. That says nothing. That puts nothing nowhere. That means you're going to do nothing, and more people are going to die, and more homes are going to burn down. That just proves that you're a lying, cowardly turd."
Yeah.
Now, don't mistake me turning my back on you for putting my attention on someone else. It's putting my back on you so that I don't have to look at your stench. And they hurried him away. And they got the cameras. Over here. We can see some new equipment that's turned up. And then one of the fires has gone, "It's old." It's beautiful. This is all on ABC. They've gone, "Let it run." And then I saw the same footage on Channel 7. They were fine with it. And the same footage on Channel 9, they were fine with it. The actual journos on the ground were feeding little stories back to the home networks about how badly supported the fireys were and what they were doing. And if you ever say it's terrifying, but if you ever say it, there's 3 guys in a truck, a bush firefighting truck, and the firestorm comes and approaches, and they go, "Righto, boys, get good with whatever you believe in, because here it comes." And you hear the roaring, and you hear warmth, and you see the flame just bang hit the front of the truck. The window cracks, and they've got their silver blanket on, and then one of them sort of pokes the silver blanket up because he got the GoPro in the back. The GoPro in the back just sort of sags as its mountings are starting to melt. Hot. And they sort of look up and gone, oh, there's a bit of excitement.
Yeah.
It's like
it luckily passed very quickly, yes.
Yeah, that's a bit of excitement.
On a completely different... Actually, I'm going to stay on that topic for a while because Bobo said hated Abbott with a passion, but after seeing Scummo at the bushfires, missed Abbott because he did the firefighting thing. There's a few people said, oh, you've got to give it to Abbott. He went on and, it was a volunteer firefighter and went out there. I said, what do I have to give him? He is a worthless, horrible, racist, misogynist piece of shit. And the fact that he did that firefighting does not diminish one iota that he's a worthless, miserable, misogynist, racist piece of shit. I think no more highly of him for that. And people say, oh, you got it. Okay. If there's a child molester, if there's someone who'd raped and murdered 15 kids who then went on and was a volunteer firefighter, are you going to cut him some slack on the raping and murdering 15 kids? Well, no, that's stupid. Yeah. Then why the fuck does Abbott's fuckery count for less? Just because no. Fine, he went out there and he did some work where he was actually probably completely unnecessary and it was just dumb shit. But him doing that one thing in no way lessens the fact that he is worthless fucking scum through and through. Is a misogynist, racist, protector of pedophiles. Okay? And that's not even like QAnon paranoid bullshit. I'm talking, of course, about the Catholic Church, who we know for a fact are a bunch of fucking pedophiles.
Now steady on.
Yeah.
Steady on. They're not a bunch. They're a group.
Yeah. They're an organized cohort. They're an organized cohort of pedophiles.
Organized cohort of pedophiles with power structures based on the fact that senior priests know that the junior priests are homosexuals and sometimes pedophiles and use them to keep their power structures in place. Tell you what, mate, when Frankie fucking finishes fucking moving the cash around, the curia is fucked. You'll see it by one, they'll either start to retire or get put in jail. Yeah. And new curia will turn up.
Yeah. Pell actually pissed off back to the Vatican the other day. And people are going, oh, what's that about? And the Vatican have said he doesn't have any official role in the Vatican. Well, why is he going? And what do you think he's going? He's fleeing the inevitable prosecution for his other many crimes. He knows he's going to be prosecuted again because he knows he's guilty and he's fucking off to get out of range of a police investigation.
How he got out of that one is something I've got to read because fuck, if you can get out of that, that's brilliance.
It's just down to there's a whole power structure designed to protect people like Pell, and it almost failed him. Like he lost. The police were convinced he was guilty because there is no way the police were going to bring charges against him. It had to be more than they thought he was guilty. They had to believe they had a solid case that would be proven in court because it's not just, oh, yeah, he's a prick, we're going to nail him. It's like, no, you do not go against someone this powerful unless you are convinced you will win.
I've been told by a policeman I lived with, he says, you don't arrest anyone unless you know you can charge them, and you don't charge them unless you know you can win. So, if you've been arrested and charged, believe me, they've got a good case. Get good fast.
Yeah.
And they arrested Pell, and he's super powerful. Now, remember, too, that the big signal from the Vatican was that he'd been cut loose because Frankie basically said, you're going to do some really unpopular shit for me or I'm going to cut you loose. Then he did some really unpopular shit. Then he cut him loose. And Pell's gone, oh. And Frankie's gone, me, Pope, you pedophile. And that was also a big signal to the rest of the church, because one of the things that Frankie wants to bring in is a re-establishment of the relationship between women in the church and homosexuals in the church. And that's going to be a big fucking deal, because all of the power structures that are there in the church at the moment are going to fall apart, because young priests who are busted being gay no longer have to be held in threat and fear. They can basically say, my Uber priest has fucking got me to be a bagman for fucking some evil shit. You'll have a whole bunch of very senior fucking church, bishops, even cardinals, given it a little bit of, their power structure turning on them and going, this guy's running his own fucking, cocaine factory out of South America. I'm making shit up.
Yes. Maybe we should change the topic before one of us says something legally actionable. Because I'm fairly passionate about this.
That's what they're fighting against now. Now, all it's going to rely on is what Frankie's doing right now is he's setting up a trust system whereby all of the kids who got raped by the church can sue the church properly. And they will, because that has been coming a mile off. Everyone can see this happening for years, and actually get paid out properly. Because they've got to assemble all this cash into a trust system which will self-generate so that they can pay these kids out and make it an ongoing thing, so that when they're not paying out kids, they can start paying out investigators, they can start paying out fucking social scientists. Before you and I are dead, I predict this. AZ predicts.
Yeah.
Gays okay in the church. Priests allowed to marry in the church. Instant jailing for pedophile priests. No more hiding. And basically women ordained as priests. Nuns ordained as priests. I am basically seeing them go down the Anglican road. And because if you think about the okay, so the big controversy is, the African church doesn't like it. You know what? They fucked the African church so hard in the 80s, letting Islam fucking take the place over. There's a pointless fucking waste of time. Fucking trying to get through to them. You've got priests going through people's houses breaking condoms.
Well, you've got a more hopeful view of progression in the Catholic Church than me. I could conceive of priests being allowed to marry. Currently, the gays are still going to hell. That's a still going to hell thing. So I honestly don't see that changing. And you've got much more faith in them than me if you think they're going to actively prosecute the pedos in their ranks, because there are so fucking many of them. And I also don't see them ordaining women. But I think it's a mug's game to try and... I think it's fun. I think making the predictions is fun. But
I think that when they got Frankie in as Pope, what they said was they need Jesus with an MBA to get them out of the shit that they were in.
Yeah.
And they got Jesus with an MBA. First thing Frankie said was, no more spending fucking money on fucking Armani fucking shoes, boys. That's over. That gold fucking throne, that can be a wooden chair. Your fucking chalets can all be apartments. You don't need 20 servants. You can get away with 5.
Yeah.
You don't need XYZ, and we're going to start beefing up our poverty programs. And so that pissed off the Franciscans no end.
Yeah.
And then he went looking for the money. That put the wind up everybody because no one expected that to happen. And then instead of reassigning the money, he just put it into a separate consolidated revenue, which is the big sign that he's looking to make the trust fund for the big lawsuits that are coming, the class actions that are coming, and they are going to be fucking enormous. And remember that they have cash on them to the value of about $500 billion, but they have assets on them that are well over $18 billion.
The real estate and the art and the gold and whatnot is way into the tree.
Way over the top. They own something like someone said 20% of Melbourne CBD. But then the unions own something like 20% of the Melbourne CBD. So,
you know. I just saw an interesting conversation happening in the chat. Bobo saying, it's pretty out there. Do I foresee a future with organized religion being outlawed? I'll say no, and not just no. That is something I would actively fight against, because that sort of totalitarianism is unacceptable. Would I like a future where the government left religion completely out of its decision-making process and regularly and routinely made fun of the people for believing in the magic man in the sky? Yeah, that'd be fucking great.
I'd also like a government that taxed religion.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Taxing them, most definitely.
It's about time that all of the what do they call it? Making money faith. What do they call themselves? Abundance faith.
Prosperity gospel.
Prosperity gospel. About that time they all paid up because they're businesses. Scientology
absolutely
could pay easily 60% of its wealth out tomorrow, and should. They're not a religion, they're a business.
And Saf is saying it's dodgy. The federal government funds Catholic schools. Don't single out Catholic schools. Private schools. Private schools should get zero dollars. Zero. And they actually get more money than state schools, which is fucking criminal. It is absolutely fucking criminal. And everyone that's put that structure in place should be in fucking prison. But that's just my view.
A long fucking time ago, man.
But it's gotten progressively worse. In the 90s, Howard made it worse and worse and worse. And when they got back in, everyone from Abbott through to Morrison has made it worse. They have just made it progressively worse. Every budget, they make it worse. No, Charlie, I don't think private schools should be abolished. I just think they should be solely funded by the fees paid by the parents. Okay? All government funding should go into government schools. What?
Oh, interesting story that I came across. There was a gay student who was expelled from a Swedish Catholic school.
Yeah.
And the Swedish government said, why did you expel the student? And they said, oh, he was gay, and we don't allow that in our faith, and we're a Catholic school. And the Swedish government said, well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough that you don't allow that. Did you catch him being gay at school? Well, no, he admitted as much that he was gay after a 6-hour counselling session. And I've been in them. They counsel the fuck out of you. In teams, usually. If you've ever seen those movies where there's one wooden chair being surrounded by a U shape of about a dozen comfortable chairs, and they all get up and leave and come back. And sometimes they'll come back with coffee, and sometimes they'll come back with food. And when you want to get up for a piss, no, you've got to wait till the next break. Very uncomfortable. Anyway, basically after a 6-hour counselling session, he admitted that he was gay, and so they expelled him. And they said, well, that's fair enough as far as it goes, but he didn't actually do any gay acts at school. Because if he did gay acts at school, then that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Expel the shit out of him. But he didn't do any actual gay acts at school. No. All right, that's okay. Well, we'll have this year's funding, last year's funding, and all of the year's funding that you had that kid at school back tomorrow. Write us out a check. No, you don't understand. No, you see, here's the thing. When we agreed to let you have Catholic schools children, you agreed to educate them to the standards of the Swedish Education Board. And these are the standards of the Swedish Education Board. You don't fucking discriminate against children because they're black, do you? No. You don't discriminate against children because they're Asian, do you? No. And if there was Muslim children who prayed to Islam subtly, but didn't disrupt Christian prayers, you'd allow that. I'd go, well, yeah, right. Well, this gay kid hasn't done anything gay at school, so yeah, you've broken your contract, so you'll be paying back this much money. And until you do, you get nothing. And in the morning, they shut off their electricity. They turned off their water. They fucking put bollards up against the roads. They basically, the priests wanted to get out of the residence and they couldn't because there was gates, like roadblocks. And basically the kids were told, you may go in, but there's only a very limited school experience, and they shut off the Wi-Fi and they shut off the phones. So there's no teaching going on Monday. And the school said, "Oh, can we settle this out of court?" And the government said, "No. What you can do is you can reinstate the student with a guarantee that the student won't be bullied, harassed, or picked on in any way by you, and that you will take extra special care to make sure that the other students aren't doing that either." And the school basically got the note from Rome and said, "Do it, because this is the cancer that will keep going and going and going. Just do it." And then the word apparently went round: if you notice a screaming fag, have a talk to them and tell them to keep their heads down. But don't move on anything.
Don't ask, don't tell. Just keep it to yourself, sunshine.
Exactly. Classic. Don't ask, don't tell. And then effectively this kid came back to school to a hero's welcome, but was told by the government, you will keep your fucking head down. There will be no protests. There will be no fucking gay pride day. There will be no fucking t-shirt wearing. You will wear uniform correctly at all times. You will not fucking espouse the values of gay lifestyle. You are not gay. You are a student who is gay. And the gay part has nothing to do with your student life. We fucking put a lot of work into getting you back into school. You do not fuck us up now, because if you do, we're not going to be there to catch you. And apparently this student who said this in an article said, and I understand where they're coming from, and and it was Norway. Sorry, it was Norway, and the sternness with which the officials told him, these are the fucking new rules, is you're going to be good and stay good, and apparently everything's fine.
That sounds good.
But we're going to see more and more of that. We're going to see more and more of governments going, no, you're not allowed to steal our money anymore, especially now. Remember, the world's just gone through an economic downturn, right? And China
It's
can
going to
fucking
continue
jump up
for the next 10 years, but yes.
I mean, China can jump up and down and scream all it likes about how it's going to take over the fucking world, right? But it's just got ass fucked real hard because all of its customers ran out of money just now.
Yeah.
And all their manufacturing goods that they've been riding high on,
suddenly
not
just sitting in warehouses now.
The
Bit rough for everyone.
Is Australia still selling energy, still selling fucking food, still selling fucking basic ores, because the military still likes making planes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's it's an interesting time, says the Chinese man. The whole arc up between Trump and China is going to fizzle out to nothing because they've both.
Trump's going to fizzle out to nothing, for fuck's sake. Trump's going to fizzle out to nothing.
But they've got nothing to back any of their threats with. It's all crumbled.
Yeah.
Behind their yelling and screaming, all of their big, I'm going to do this to you and I'm going to do this to you, has fallen apart. Quietly, grey-faced diplomats going to meet in Helsinki and go, Jesus Christ, can we have our containers back? And they're going to be answered with, Jesus Christ, yes, please, and can we have some checks? Because we're about to fall over, and so are we. Can we get the ships moving again? And, the planes will take off from Darwin Airport. I've seen aerial photographs of Darwin Airport, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
There's like 2,500 commercial intercontinental passenger jets parked nose to tail on every available surface. Because what you don't realise is air travel is at such a state where 90% of the actual aircraft are in the air. They're not on the ground. There's nowhere to put them on the ground. They take off and they stay, no shit, 95% of their lives in the air because that's where they're making money. And the airlines spend a lot of money on logistics to keep them in the air making money. They take them out of service to fucking fix them and shit like that. But it's all very, very fucking closely fucking monitored. All of the parts of a new airplane now have GPS trackers on them, and they call back the factory that made it and said, this engine or this part of an engine is wearing and will need to be replaced at the next check in 6 months. Which is great, by the way, when planes go missing, because you're going to have hundreds of GPS call homes saying, I seem to be separated from the plane and I'm over here. I seem to be separated from the plane and I'm over here. Which will mean we'll know where to look and maybe save some people. Which would be nice.
I'm just going to share with what came in the mail today, and I didn't know.
Do that.
Come in, Helly and hello. You see, it says, "Hey, you have good taste," because I got my order far quicker than I thought I was going to from the Applewood Distillery in Adelaide. Got there.
Nice.
Isn't that pretty colour?
It is pretty.
Coral gin, and normally pink gins, that's like a sweet or fruity flavor in the gin. This one is apparently salty. It's what's in it? It's inspired by the Great Barrier Reef and its tropical surrounds. The aromatics of strawberry gum, fragrant spice of rye berries, and salinity of carcala. Coral gin speaks true of a captivating Australian seascape. So it's got carcalla, which is this succulent plant that grows on the beaches in Australia. And because it's on the fucking beach, it absorbs a lot of salt. So
They try and get cows to eat it so they drink more water.
Yeah. So their recommended drink for this is 60 mils of coral gin, 30 mils of pineapple juice, 30 mils of cream, 1 teaspoon of molasses, 3 drops of vanilla extract, 3 drops of Wonder Foam. Oh, and some soda water, and that's a coral gin fizz. Anyway, I'm just going to do a direct taste test because I've got this arrived today. This is another Applewood one I've had for a while, finger lime, and this is another Australian distillery, the Doctor. Well, it's the Tiny Bear Distillery. Their gin, they call it. I'm going to taste them because I haven't even tasted this one yet. So, yep, smells like gin.
Oh, yep. Hang on. I've got to get my beauty camera on. Hang on.
Okay. I'm just going to have a little tasty of this.
Beauty camera's on.
All right.
Light.
That's not bad. Oh, yeah, it's got all the different flavors going on in your mouth. Oh, Charlie, what's Wonder Foam? I've actually ordered some of it that might actually arrive this week. But it's a chemical thing. You put a couple drops of it in a drink and shake it up, and it goes all foamy. Normally, you have to use egg white or something for that, and this is a replacement for the egg white, so you can get foamy drinks. Aussie Gun Bunny, it is a long time no see. What have you been up to, Sunshine? I am just taste testing some Applewood Coral Gin. Okay. When they say salty, I think they mean comparatively. I think they mean compared to other gins because it's not intrinsically salty. Actually, I'm going to rinse my mouth a little bit. All right. And now finger lime gin. Yeah, that does have a noticeable bit for the, like, again, to me, this tastes more like citrus oil than fruit juice. I say it's got finger lime in it. But see, I'm not a gin aficionado. I'm a terrible person to try and give descriptions and the differences between them. Oh, how's it going, Bunny? You've been doing graveyard shift. End of the overnight run, 3 months of graveyard shift done and dusted.
That's going to sting come morning.
Yeah. Are you liking the beard? I haven't been coloring it. So this is actually the real color of my beard. And the hair is this. You can't really tell. This is literally the longest my hair has been in decades. I've not let it grow this long in decades. So the longest it ever was when we were at college, actually. I let it grow quite, I had it was the 80s. I had a faux hawk, basically.
It was a proper mohawk. It was bloody huge. It was about that. It was about this big. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Mullet.
That was why you called Spike.
Mullet hawk, and it was really long at the back. I cut it short at the sides, had it spiky on the top, and it was grown long at the back. And that was decades.
Damn, the girlies loved you, dude. Oh,
well, my hair was. If I let my hair grow long, it gets curly. So.
Oh. The girlies had one look at Spike and said, I need some of that. And as far as I could tell, they got some.
I was very monogamous, thank you very much. I'm not saying one person in this stream was the town bike, but it wasn't me. I'm just saying.
I was a serial monogamist.
Yeah, sometimes in the same night. Yes.
That's right.
But And so it's still
unless
stereo.
there was assemblages of people that agreed to be there, I was a serial monogamous.
Yeah, it's still serial if you go from one side of the bed to the other side of the bed. That's one
right.
after another. That's one, and then another one.
Only thing in my attention right now.
Yeah.
You are the only thing in my attention right now. Oh, I'm being tickled in the bum.
Yeah, yeah. So Aussie Gun Bunny, you thought of, because I saw you basically shaved your head, didn't you, Aussie Gun Bunny? You want to grow it out again? Oh, when the 90s grunge, you had shoulder length hair. See, my hair goes curly, so when I let it grow long at the back, when it was wet, it was right down the middle of my back. But if it was dry, it curled up and just sat around my shoulders. So for some reason, my hair goes curly when it's long. Safa loves having AZ on the device, and we all love it.
Thank you, Safa.
Chris is a monogamous now. What's the other one? The extended periods where I was an onanist. That was.
Yeah, I had extended periods of onanism too.
Yeah, these days people call it being an incel, but yeah. Safa, am I Scottish?
Yeah, but
my
I
dominant
have an incel, which reminds me, I started putting down some notes because I saw another story about another incel who I started to get some insights as to the incel state of mind, and it's all about she rejects me.
Yes.
Right? Not she has her own opinions, her own feelings, and her own story of the night.
Yeah.
And that might not include me in it.
Yeah.
So they're not going to that place of she might not feel like hooking up tonight.
Yeah.
She might not feel like hooking up with someone like me. It's all about she rejected me. She's the bitch for rejecting me because fat guys are more loyal. And even though our acne explodes spontaneously, that means we're taking better care of our skin. How dare she fucking have opinions? And what it boils down to is how dare she have opinions? And she does. And you're not being rejected. You just didn't connect tonight. Because there is someone in that room. If there's 30 people in it, there's someone in that room that thinks you're hot shit. I promise you. I know this from statistics. I know this from experience. I know this from an experiment where I just found it out and I was on the lookout. And I found one chick staring up a guy who wasn't all that in a hat. And I just casually moved them together. And they were nervous, but I started them off conversating and gave them pointers how to keep on asking questions. Yeah. And they went home together.
Nice.
And they stayed together for like 8 months before they broke up. They had a lot of life experiences. They both moved out of home for the first time to move in together.
Yeah.
Mistake. Always move out on your own first. Have your own place first. Invite your girlfriend around to your place. Invite her around to her place. Don't fucking move in together first up. That is a recipe for disaster. But they hung on for 8 months, which is great. So insights in incelism. And I'm trying to make it as painless as possible. And also make the ladies not look at it and go, humph, just another privileged white man, which I am. Except my privileges don't extend very far.
Yeah, that's okay. So I've been listening, but this is the other thing I got in the mail. I actually got 2 bottles because I drunk all my Okar Gold, which I really quite like. I got a replacement Okar Gold, and I was just thinking, what could I put this gin in to test it, a drink? And I found a gin cocktail called an Alaska.
Ooh.
It's actually 2.5 ounces of gin and 3/4 ounce of yellow chartreuse. And this is an awesome substitute for yellow chartreuse. And a couple of dashes of orange bitters. So I'm going to make that. So I noticed, yes, Stella and Charlie hit the nail on the head. Incels literally don't see women as people. Yes. And we need a new hobby to get through the months of bullshit boredom. What sort of things do you like? Puzzles? Puzzles or art, or even get one of those adult coloring books. You can pass a few hours with one of those, I reckon. Hey, Anthony, by the way, on Facebook. Hello. Aussie Gun Bunny. I have watched the Joker movie, and I was surprised how much I liked it, because the director of the film is a bit of a fucking douche and said some really stupid things in the lead up to it that made everyone think the movie was a fucking incel propaganda piece, and it isn't. It's a kill the rich propaganda piece, which I'm absolutely on board with it. Bruce Wayne's dad is an utter piece of shit. He's the benevolent billionaire who's going to save the filthy, dirty lower classes from themselves while having absolute contempt for them. And there were my two favorite lines that Joker says. One is the pretty obvious one that I think everyone says when he's they're both on the talk show. My favorite lines is the obvious one that everyone says is, what do you get when you take a mentally disabled loner and completely reject him and take away all resources and ruin his life? You get what you fucking deserve. But the other one he said, because he kills these obnoxious frat boy yuppie banker types who actually work for Bruce Wayne's dad, but they're threatening a woman, and then they come up and assault Joker, and he happens to have a gun on him and he kills them. And of course, Bruce Wayne's dad treats this as a tragedy and whatnot. And when Joker is on this talk show, he admits he's the one who killed these banker dudes, and he's laughing while he says it. And the talk show host says, are you trying to say that you find it funny, that you killing those guys was funny? And he just leans over and goes, yes, it's funny, and I'm sick of pretending it's not. Just like, fucking yes. Fucking yes. I was 100% there for that. But oh, you're getting automatic subtitles on Facebook, Anthony. Good Lord. That sounds like a nightmare. And you're drinking Twisted Sister. I've had Twisted Sister apple cider, I think. If you're a cider fan, my personal favorite is one produced just past Geelong in the Flying Brick cidery. It's called Flying Brick, and they do a sweet, dry, and draft. That's one of my favorite ones. Aussie Gummo might watch Joker and got Fireflied again. Yeah, Firefly's good. I didn't watch that Treadstone series. You know what I can't bring myself to watch? The Jack Reacher series, because it's the dumbest fucking propaganda I can think of. They're actually saying like Venezuela is the greatest threat to world peace, and they're going to have nuclear weapons and blow everyone up if we don't stop them. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I've just got to get my jigger so I can mix this drink in the appropriate portions. Just rinse this little beauty. Right, so this is apparently an Alaska cocktail. So they don't say coral gin, but I'm trying my coral gin in a cocktail. See what it's like. Satisfying pop. Gotta love that. So 2.5 ounces of gin. It's going to be a very pretty color. Pink and yellow. Orange, I suppose. 3/4 of an ounce of ochre gold. Yeah, fucking gets translated as dollar, dollar, dollar. Yep. Okay, so it knows what I'm saying. It knows what I'm saying. 3/4 of an ounce of ochre gold. And a couple dashes of citrus bitters. Orange bitters. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably 2 dashes. And I just put it straight in the glass. Just gonna mix it in the glass. Got my clear ice in the glass. Looking very sexy. So it's just gone yellow, really. Golden, I suppose. So it's lost all the pink, which is a more subtle element. Ooh, I'm watching the swirling within the glass. It's too, there you go. That's loose. It's definitely mixed now. So, taste test of what this is like in a cocktail. Aussie Gun Bunny, have we been hiding? I've been fine. Aisy's been in hospital. So, Kirsten, you're only an hour and a half away from your favourite cideries in Bilpin. Nice. Stella's been watching Ratchet. Yeah, I've heard good things about Ratchet, actually. Yeah, Charlie, they only did 1 season of Tuca and Bertie. Oh, did Adult Swim pick it up? I didn't hear that. I'd be interested if we get more Tuca and Bertie. Kirsten, I'm watching Schitt's Creek for the first time. I'm up to season 3.
Hey, trivia.
Yeah?
2 pieces of trivia.
Yep.
Nurse Ratchet, out of what flew over the cuckoo's nest,
Yes.
was a character placement holder name. It was going to be replaced with something else, but her job was to ratchet up the tension.
Yes.
In the book. And at the end of the book, it was getting close to deadline and just released it. And it worked beautifully. And no one noticed. And so he went, great. And he got lots and lots of prizes and got really, really rich. Give it a fuck. And the whole Reacher thing is supposed to be an analogy toward Iran.
It's not an analogy. He's a CIA agent, and he says Venezuela is the greatest danger. It's not a fictional country. It's Venezuela. And there's an absolutely farcical storyline about Venezuela threatening the world with nuclear weapons. And everyone that show's gone on in their publicity and just talk about how great the CIA is. There's no irony. There's no metaphor. It's just, it's so intelligence insulting. I can't bring myself to, because I like action. I like action. I like escapism. But this is just dumb as shit.
But there's a point to where you've got to go, really? And if you're going to spend that much money on a movie, I mean, I can see why they wouldn't directly say Iran, because it's very tense right now. And they are about to make bombs and throw them around the place. I can see why you wouldn't say North Korea, because they're fucking crazy. And they have fast jets capable of Mach, close to Mach 2, to take the rich people out of the country within 2 hours' notice. So they're quite happy to nuke the world and fuck off to Switzerland and to Arabia and to everywhere else, while all the poor people get fucking fried. So I can sort of see why they changed the names, and Venezuela being such a non-threat, and they are a non-threat ever since Chavez died. The place.
Well, if they're a non-threat, why did the US overthrow the government there again? And why are they actively sort of helping install fascists there again. It is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous propaganda. It is dumber than any Cold War propaganda. It is dumber than, what was that one that had Patrick Swayze in it where the commies invade America?
The Wolverines, man. Don't
Yes.
fucking up the Wolverines, man.
No, that's better. That's better is what I'm saying. Conceptually,
the Wolverines is better than what?
It's better than this fucking Reacher premise. The premise of Russian-sponsored communists invading America is a better premise than Venezuela being the greatest threat to world peace. It's just
clearly wrong, and clearly it's got to be just pointing at something else or saying that this is a fictional setup and this is how the CIA operates.
But they didn't make it a fictional country. They made it Venezuela.
But
no, it's just too stupid. I can't watch it.
They could have gone Angola. They could have gone fucking anywhere second, third-ish, world-ish. Morocco, right? They could have gone anywhere and said, put a finger on the dot and go, that's where we're going. But they chose fucking Venezuela because it had, oil, flashpoint stuff. So what do you think that's?
Ozzy Don Bunny is saying, what resources are there? Oil. Enormous amounts of oil.
Lots of oil.
Yeah. No, that's just too dumb for words. Like I said, and I like dumb escapist shit.
That oil's theirs. They believe it's theirs. They have every way they talk about it, every way they press about it, they believe the Venezuelan oil is their oil. And Venezuela under Chavez was starting to sell oil to Europe. And the shitstorm that produced was nuts because Bush had let the heating oil reserves go down so dangerously low that during a cold snap, it looked like people were going to die in their homes. And he relied on the fact that the Venezuelans were going to play ball. And the Venezuelans said, well, we sold it. Weren't you watching? We told everyone we were doing it. And then the Americans said, but we didn't think you were gonna. We just thought you were going to ratchet up the price. And no, we sold it to Europe. They wanted oil, and we sold it to them for American dollars because we know what happens when you try and sell oil in euros without buying American dollars. You get iraqed. And the Americans fucking did their riz. They just went, well, you better fucking find some more because we need it. And it's like, well, yeah, but you're supposed to buy it. And this was what made Chavez a hero and what made him enemy number one in America because the bastard had the gall, the balls to turn around and say no. It's actually mine. It's not actually yours. And they'd factored into their planning that they would have access to Venezuelan oil forever. Borneo is a bit smarter. Borneo has basically sold all their oil to Singapore, what's that market called?
I don't know. The Singapore market?
It's the one where we get all our oil from, which is why our oil prices are always more expensive than the American oil prices.
Right.
Same as China, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they sold all of theirs out of there, no questions asked, and all in American dollars. And they've been living quite happily, unmolested for a long, long time in a monarchy where the people in the royal family live like just absolute emperors, and the common people live in wooden shacks and try and fish for food.
Yeah. Aussie Gun Bunny brought up that we're as bad as what we did to East Timor. And notably, for those who don't know, Australia backed Timorese independence from Indonesia. And there were massive oil and natural gas deposits just off the coast that under international law, Timor would be owners of. And Australia did a shifty and fucked them over. And it turned out what Australia had done was we're going to build your parliament house for you because we're so awesome. And they just put listening devices in every room in the building. And so they knew all the conversations that were going on. So they could plan the negotiations knowing everything that had been discussed in private. And someone blew the whistle on that. What they call him, Witness K or something. And the Australian federal government is currently trying to sue this guy and imprison him for 300 years for daring to expose the criminality of the Australian government. Go, but that was a secret. He's not allowed to tell secrets. He's going, he exposed your actual criminal behavior. That's what we should be focusing on, that you're criminal and he exposed it.
And that is completely, utterly fair enough. The thing that should also be remembered was that it was a congratulation. The whole thing was a fuck up. It started because Wahid called Australia and said, I've called the Third Army home from East Timor and they're not coming. They've said no. Because the General Wiranto basically said, we've been here for 20 years and I want the oil. It's mine. And he said, I'm the president and I'm telling you to come back to Jakarta. No, I'm staying here. This is my oil. I worked for it. I subdued the people, which is not things you want to hear. I want the oil. And so effectively what you had was potentially a civil war within the largest standing Muslim army in the world. And the Wahid gets on the phone to John Howard going, fuck do I do? And Howard says, we're going to be the bad guys here and free East Timor. Get Junana Gusmao out of jail, cut him in on the oil, and we'll cut it 3 ways. He will agree, and he will take over Timor-Leste. We'll set them up as an independent state. They will be completely reliant on Indonesia and Australia. They've got no processing facilities whatsoever. So the royalties alone will keep them buoyant for the first little while until they can build some processing facilities. Yeah. And the deal went through. Australia went through and kept the 2 armies because Wahid sent the 1st and 5th up to Winklepick, fucking the 3rd out. And if that had gone off, that would have been very, very bad. Indonesia would have fallen apart. You would have had fucking militia Muslim armies, not fucking bands, but armies fighting one another for the resources that are in Indonesia, which are plentyfold. Thank you. And a few others would have come up to try and get the oil out of fucking Timor-Leste as well. And so they fucking headed all that off the core. The SAS went up early. Capassus was able to interdict, and SAS did most of the fighting of the 3rd Army. They did a decapitation strike, and within 24 hours, Wiranto knew the game was up. And it was just basically a matter of saying, very, very sorry, please don't kill me when I get home for treason. Yeah. And Gusmao got out. All the lights and cameras are on him. What are you going to call your new country? Oh, isn't this wonderful? The deal got done. And, Australia went, well, we were going to have half that oil cut between us and Indonesia. Now got a third. but there's a lot there. All right, so
Yeah.
no one's going home crying, and so they wanted to have an idea of what they knew what Gusmao wanted, and they knew what Father, the priest guy, what's his name? I can't remember him, but they knew what he wanted, but they didn't know what the other parties wanted. So that's their reasoning for putting the bugs in. They would have put the bugs in anyway. They would have done that anyway. I mean, fucking, you go to a fucking embassy or a fucking a political meeting place that isn't fucking wide for sound and or isn't regularly swept and fines wide for sound. They're all fucking at it. Now, them trying to get out of the criminal activity that they did and say, oh, no, we're in the right. They're not. It was illegal. They got caught, which was stupid. They should never have got caught. When you do shit like this, you don't get caught. Fucking the Timor-Leste is one of these countries that is not a failed state, thank Christ. It's actually moving forward. They've got big problems. They've got a lot of fucking poverty. They've got a lot of fucking starving people. And they've got to get themselves out of it to show that they're a viable state. And they will. They will. And they require a lot of help. Help requires money. Money's got to come from somewhere. And if you're sitting on a shitload of oil, it might as well come from there. I'm not trying to fucking justify anyone. I'm not trying to fucking say the Australian government was right in the way they did it. They could have done all of this differently. All of it. Except for the smooth move of getting Gusmao out of jail and setting him up as the first president and setting up a constitutional government. That was smooth. And the Indonesians letting it happen, that was also smooth. That was the way to stop the fucking bandits from fucking running amok through East Timor that have been trained by the fucking Indonesians. And Jesus Christ, those people got into some war crimes. I mean, we've all seen the docos, but Christ, I've seen written reports from soldiers on the ground, and I just am stunned at what these people thought they were about. I have no idea what goes through your mind when you think, I can do this to these people. I mean, how does that happen? How do you get into a place where you can go, I can do this horrific torture to these people, not because I'm saving them from the devil, not because I'm doing the right thing, but just because I can.
Yeah.
And that's where they were. It's just because I can.
Yeah.
I have total authority to do this, and I'm going to do it for fun, and it's terrific. It's just terrific. I can't. Yeah. I'm not going to expand on it.
Yeah, I just want to go with some of the stuff in the chat, like Aussie Gun Bunny pointing out that if Indonesia had taken things really badly, could have been a very direct confrontation with Australia. As it was, there was gunfire exchanged throughout the island, but it never really escalated. I did notice Safra asking, was it a secret war? No. Although, as Albert Gun Bunny pointed out, our military was there before the public really knew. But they were peacekeepers. It was like Indonesia had agreed, okay, we are actually going to grant the independence, and there were some rogue elements who want to make it a bit difficult, and the Australian army was there to keep them in line, and there were shots exchanged. I did just on a slightly related note about these companies. Stella just found out she's on $150 a day less than her subordinates And would you be surprised to learn that the subordinates are all men in a mining company? So, yeah, that's dumb as hell. So,
Bloody the East Timor the whole East Timor gig happened very, very, very. It was set up very fast because of communications back and forward between the president and the general, and the only people close enough to do anything about it were the Australians. So the Australians sent in the top tier SAS straight away, and then they sent in the Anzac to show they meant a little bit of business about it. And the whole idea was to keep the Indonesians away from the Indonesians. That was the whole purpose of the exercise, was to stop them meeting, because the first and the fifth had orders to get the third home or dead. And can you imagine how that would have played at home? It just wouldn't. That would have been fucking, set the place on fire. And then fucking Russia, China, America would have just moved in and bought up the rest out of the ashes. And so that wasn't going to be allowed to happen. There were 4 reports on the ABC actually putting this all out in really plain speech, and then it dried up. And I found out ages later that they got denoticed for a few, but then they got sat down with the communications and defence and Cosgrove, sat down and said, look, this is the story. You're the only ones who are actually onto it. This is the story which you know. But if it plays out this way and anyone gets wind of it, it's going to all fuck up. The people who are going to get their country back are the East Timorese. And that's the deal that's been brokered. But if it doesn't play out that way exactly, it's gonna all fall apart. So stop reporting on it. Just report what the fucking commercials are doing, which is fucking what you can see running around, which is just chaos. And then the last phase of it was all the bandits trying to run for the border. And by that point, the third was on its way out too, and they let them go. They let wanted war criminals just walk straight over the border.
Yeah.
Speaking
of war criminals, Aussie Gun Bunny raises a good point. PNG is what has to get sorted next. Have to stop the Indonesians just massacring the indigenous population.
Well, because those fucking Highlanders don't mind eating people. And allegedly. They have said time and time again, we've tried to play nice. It's time, and they've said we're going to play old school very soon with our new friends' toys. And everyone's running around going, who are their new friends? Yeah. And what they mean is they're being armed by someone. Yeah. Now, let me think. Who's running around the Pacific at the moment trying to curry favour with whoever the fuck they can? Yeah. So I'm thinking some knockoff AK-47s are going to start fucking raining down.
Yeah. An example of really gross sort of political doublespeak for the Indonesian occupation in PNG. They say, no. They actually voluntarily ceded sovereignty to us. They signed a thing. The Indonesians actually call this thing where the people of PNG, I don't remember if it was a government or tribal people, signed a thing at gunpoint. The Indonesians actually call that an act of free will because their signatures on a piece of paper. It's going, you were holding them at fucking gunpoint. Yeah. And that's really fucked up.
And the first 3 that refused to sign got shot.
Yeah. So, and they literally, that's like 1984 level fucking newspeak to say it was an act of free will to sign a treaty at gunpoint. And but yes, so yeah, I'm actually 100% on board with you there, Aussie Gun Bunny, that that's some shit that needs to be sorted out and should have been sorted out 20 or 30 years ago. But yeah, who knows? Maybe one day it will get dealt with, because
Well,
it's
fuck,
pretty fucked.
I tell you, man, fucking, as their new friends keep on arming them,
Yeah,
and as they keep on training, and there's training camps all over the place, there's fucking satellite imagery and there's FA-18 imagery of fucking cleared areas and men running around fucking assault courses, and it's like, Jesus Christ, these are Highlanders. These motherfuckers will kill you and eat you, right? They teach their children the best way is to kill a man by taking the retarded children from another tribe, tying him up to a fucking pole, and showing him where to poke the spear. And you know, this is not a people you want to keep oppressed for too long. And it's only because they're in the Highlands and they're hard to get to that the draconian laws haven't got to them so quickly. And so basically, you know, they're being told all kinds of things, and all they have to promise is what they promised the Australians, is the shit under the ground. And there's a lot of shit under the ground.
I was just doing a bit of looking up, because Annette was saying she didn't think the Highlanders eat people, they headhunt. And I did a really quick look up and got the sentence: the Korowai tribe of southeastern Papua could be one of the last surviving tribes in the world engaging in cannibalism. A local cannibal cult killed and ate victims as recently as 2012. And yes, they may well threaten to pick it up again with
It's
people.
Not stopped. They say they've stopped, but they keep on getting cases of curry coming down in the hospitals. Jesus Christ, wake up. I mean, you know, where'd you get your curry from? Don't know. Did you eat anyone recently? Oh, no, that's illegal. You've got
we don't
curry.
do that.
The only way you've got it is to eat the brain of someone with curry. Help me out here.
Reminded me of that the book.
I might have eaten someone.
The Neil Stevenson book Cryptonomicon, which covers a fair period of time, but it covers the Pacific in World War II. And there's one bit where soldiers they're making friends with the Pacific Islanders, where the Japanese have come through and they're helping them get back, because the Japanese had this really fucked up idea that black people don't feel pain, which actually continues in places like America now. But the Japanese, as they swept through the Pacific, were known to torture prisoners in the Pacific because they didn't think they could feel pain. And there's this little passage in Cryptonomicon where they're with these islanders and helping them basically take back their village from the Japanese, and they find what's left of the Japanese soldiers after the islanders have decided payback time, motherfucker, and they're all going, ugh! And it's like, okay, I really don't like the Japanese, but I don't want to think too much about that. That was, and I know it's because they tortured you and raped women and tortured and murdered children. Holy shit, though, dude! Holy shit.
One morning, this soldier writes in his diary, our protagonist is reading this, fairly normal war diary, and then there's this the rest of the book is given over to this one night, and the islanders came in down from the hills and the plains, and they subdued, pushed down, and held down the Americans, just held them down and sat on them, and then pushed over the barbed wire and rushed in, and the carnage that happened after that was long and loud and lasted 2 days, and these American soldiers are just fucked up. overseeing what these islanders were doing to these Japanese, and not one of them survived. And from then on in, the islanders were not allowed near the American camp.
It's
So
retribution.
terrified of them.
It's kind of like when people try to say, like, like, hoorah, the Western allies met the Russians in Berlin for the final overthrow of the Nazis. They sort of came in from opposite sides and met in Berlin. And you get these weird people who are still apologists for the Nazis saying, like, the Russians did terrible things, and they did. And I don't actually excuse what they did, but do you know why they did? Because what the Germans did all the way through Eastern Europe, and doing the same thing back is not morally right, is not a good thing. Doing it to civilians because it happened to civilians in your country is not an acceptable thing. I can understand it. I can't excuse it, but I can understand it. And it just creeps me out when people are apologists for Nazis. Like, the Russians did terrible things to them. Yeah, they absolutely did. They absolutely did. And that was a product.
And the Russians continue to do terrible things, but it doesn't fucking excuse narcissism in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and it was retribution, and I'm not a big fan of retribution on that scale. I understand the motivation for retribution on that scale, but it's not a thing that I condone because I don't think it helps. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that retribution that the Russians did to the Germans, and I'm not saying Nazis, I'm saying Germans, because most of them
what they did to German civilians, which was really full on.
Basically set up a cycle of hatred that's lasted close to 100 years.
Yeah.
The fucking the Russians to this day still say that the Germans did more damage than Stalin, and that's not right. That's factually not right. Yeah. Stalin did much worse things to his own people than the Germans.
Particularly over because he had a few more decades to do it in as well.
Yeah.
I think, But it's bedtime. It's bedtime for Bonzo. The Aussie Gun Bunny did say, funnily enough, I can confirm Papua New Guineans seem to be immune to tear gas. Had a friend from the army walked into the tent while we were doing tear gas training, and he just walked in without a mask and sat there and talked to us, and it didn't bother him at all. It's like, wow, okay, that's a special one.
But those PNG boys are tough.
Oh, stay on the good side.
Real tough up there.
Stay on their good side is all I'm saying. But
when those motherfuckers hit you, you stay fucking hit.
Yeah. So I'm going to say good night. Bid all you fine people farewell. Take care of yourselves. And I will just say, although I only had the one drink, it was fucking potent. I might try and make a martini with this another night, actually.
It's going to be a good mix, man.
This and this was very potent. Well, because there were 2.5 ounces of this, which is, that's potent. So good night, one and all. See you another time. But it's good night from me.